Let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, additions to the agenda. I don't have any tonight. Jean,
I have two.
you have two.
I have two. One is about a
do it.
book sale in the lobby.
Okay.
You want me to lump them together? They're actually very separate things. Or we have to do
Sure,
them
you can lump them together.
Oh, okay. And the
That's
other
fine.
one is discussion of an article for replacement of funds used from the Emergency Capital Reserve Fund. If we're doing some articles tonight.
We're doing one article tonight because it's going to be a long one.
Oh, it is. Okay.
I have a feeling.
We can add that, we have a lot more articles to do.
Okay.
Are we not adding that? It's on my list. Okay.
So let's hold that one off and let's
Okay.
just do the first one.
We have book sale under new business.
Or department, probably department and committee
Department
reports.
committees.
Okay.
Department committee.
Second.
Moved and second to add book sale information underneath department and committees. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Chair's remarks, I have none. Everybody out in TV land, we almost had the Halloween edition of the Vernon Selectboard because we had no power up until about 5 minutes ago. But here we are, full power, ready to go. Guess we have Attorney Carroll with us. He'll be up here in a minute. Open public comments, non-agenda items only. Seeing none. Come on up, Mr. Carroll. Would you suggest that we go into executive session for this?
I would, and in doing so, I guess I would recommend or suggest a two-part motion. The first part being that the public discussion with the town's attorney in the matter of Diallo versus Vernon would place the town at a substantial disadvantage, in my opinion, because we'll be talking about not only an update, but some strategy-type questions, et cetera. So that would be the first motion, and then the second motion would be to go into executive session.
So I'll move the first motion. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to, can you read the motion for me, please, actually?
Find premature general public knowledge of the Diallo matter will clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage.
Okay. Can I get a second to that, please?
Second.
What?
You have to allow me to stay. She's gonna-
Oh, that's on the second part.
Two parts.
Okay. Moved and
I
seconded
won't forget
that we go into executive session regarding.
No, no.
What?
Find from premature general.
Oh, we find that yeah, based on that motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I move that we enter executive session to discuss a Diallo matter with our attorney and our town administrator under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go into executive session with our attorney and the town administrator. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? We are in executive session. Went into executive session at 6:35, out at 7:15. No action was taken. Book sale.
Oh.
Tell us about it.
We would like to, in the library, or set up more of a book sale in the lobby on Election Day in November, and just have some extra books out there for a couple of weeks. We've done that in the past.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to allow an expanded book sale for 2 weeks around election time. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Approval of regular meeting minutes, October 2nd.
signed, Anthony? Make the motion, we accept them as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the regular meeting minutes of October 2nd as written. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Budget meeting minutes from September 18th.
It's regular meeting.
Sorry, regular meeting minutes. Incorrect on our sheet.
They were improved because they were corrected for that motion
Right.
that Jean made and seconded.
Mhm.
She is talented.
That was a busy night.
I move we accept them as corrected.
Second.
Will they be as written now, right?
Okay, as written, right.
Okay.
I'll still second it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All those in favor of accepting the regular meeting minutes from September 18th as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, bills and warrants.
Okay. I move that we authorize payment of the following warrant. 8T, accounts payable, $225,943.45. 40S payroll, $8,271.82. And 41S payroll, $8,117.22.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the bills and warrants as written. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, consideration of article. What we've all come here for tonight. Shall the voters of the town of Vernon authorize the legislative body to appoint the municipal clerk and municipal treasurer as provided in 17 VSA 2651 ENF? So that is the article that we're speaking about tonight. And we're gonna start with the select board, and I'm sure there's some people that wanna say something as well out in the audience, because this is the biggest crew we've had in a long time. So, the reason I brought about this article is because across the state of Vermont and across the country, most towns are going to appointed officials versus elected for multiple different reasons. And I did some research on some surrounding states, some states that are far away. We've had some local examples, and the biggest reason for me to bring this up as an article is the ability to plan for succession. So essentially right now, when we go through an election process, let's say Tim gets voted out next year and Chris, you're the town clerk, okay? Very next day, you have no ability to do your job. When you step into the office, you have no ability. Now I understand that there's training and resources to learn your job. It's a very long turnover process to be able to do that. And with someone with no experience whatsoever, walking into that and, possibly not even knowing in town, maybe they're a resident for a year, maybe they're a resident for 6 months, but they were well known from somewhere else, so got elected, get in the office, no idea what you're doing, and no ability to train with the previous town clerk because it's an election cycle. Same thing with the town treasurer, which is even more important because you have to have some sort of financial ability to step into that role. I don't care how popular you are, if you can't add or subtract or run Excel, you can't be an effective town treasurer. So that's, kind of my reasons behind that. And again, it's a succession plan. I think about Tim, I think he's going to be with us right up to the end of his working career. In 3 years from now, we don't know who comes next. So that's my reasoning for looking at this. It also gives us the ability to fix issues as they arise. A local town has recently gone through some problems with attendance. Based on, state statute, no elected official has to come to work, ever. And they still get paid. There's no, that's just the reality of the situation. Is it the right thing to do? No. But as our society and culture changes, these are the problems that surrounding towns, surrounding states across the country are starting to have. Or these folks don't have the, want to be at work all the time. And that's a culture change. It doesn't have anything to do with anything outside of a culture change. And we have to protect the town's interest against that culture change. So that's another reason. We also lack the ability to have some say within employee issues. So our assistant town clerks, our assistant treasurers, that kind of thing, currently, as it sits, and this is the way it is across the state of Vermont, Tim can decide, okay, I don't like this person, so I'm going to fire them. Well, that creates a very big HR issue for us, but we have no control over that HR issue because Tim's an elected official. He can do whatever he wants. Sorry, I'm using you as an example, Tim. You're just sitting there in front. So that brings up liability to the town as far as getting sued because something's not done through the proper channels, through the proper process, and puts a lot of liability on the town. I could go on for a really long time about the benefits of doing this. The other thing that I will mention is, I've had an individual conversation with Tim. I have not had a chance to speak with Cindy about this yet. But they are obviously concerned about their jobs going through this process. For me, this is not a reflection on how anybody does their work currently. It's not a reflection on either the town clerk's office or the town treasurer's office. This is planning ahead for the future of Vernon, and not doing that is kind of ignorant in my mind. We have to make sure that the people that come in succession with the culture change that we all know exists right now are going to do what's best for the town. It's not a control issue. It's not anything like that, because I'm not going to be here forever. We're not going to be here forever. We turn over every single year. But these folks that we can bring in after, our current ones leave, whether it be, through hiring them or election, or however it goes, we need to make sure that they're the best possible candidate for the town. So that's my thinking on it. That's why I brought it up. Thoughts? Start with you, Chris. Work our way around the table.
I don't really have any. I don't disagree with it. I mean, we've certainly seen it with other local towns very recently in the news, so, and that is in no way an attack on either of you guys in your positions, so.
My turn?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I think as a community, we're very fortunate to have two extremely well-qualified people serving as town clerk and town treasurer. I have the utmost respect for both Cindy and Tim, and again, we're very fortunate that you two folks were elected and served. That's why I think this is the best time that we have a constructive and productive discussion on what about the future. Again, you all care about this community as much as any of us. We all do. And I think, again, this is the right time to talk about this rather than waiting to a certain point where somebody holds office and they don't show up the next day. And echoing Josh a little bit, I don't feel at all this is a power grab by the select board. Again, we're passing through. And I think we do want to ensure ensure our future as a community that will be well-led.
Sandy?
I'm not in favor of this. I think that having them be elected, as long as we're electing ethical people, and if they're not ethical, they're not going to be in there long. I think it gives them the freedom to do their job without a board. There are boards that are going to be coming that haven't got a clue what it takes to run either of those offices. Maybe they're going to come in with their idea of how the town treasurer should do her books, but that's not by Gatsby. Well, they don't care. You don't work for them, you work for the board. So I think it keeps the integrity of their offices pure by being elected. And I understand the problems that can arise from either side, be appointed or elected. Both sides have good points. Both sides have bad points. I know appointed clerks that love being appointed. I know elected clerks that love being elected. Same with treasurers. I just see the integrity of the offices being pure if they're elected.
Jean?
I have not decided which way I think about this. I agree with a lot of the points. I do agree with Sandy. One thing that troubled me was you talking about the staff within the offices as if they were going to be controlled by the select board, and that is very troubling to me because that's micromanaging, and I feel the person that's the head of that department is really the best one to know how their staff is performing and what they need for staff. I don't see that as a select board role at all if this were ever to come to pass. It's just like any other departments we have right now. We depend on our department heads to make those decisions that are best for their department.
You mean as far as letting
Staff.
someone go?
Um,
Or, I mean, what part of that did I even infer that we would be in control of anything, or we would?
It just sounded like, because you were saying to, of course it needs to be done properly, and I think we've witnessed that when something's had to change, that people have gone through the right process. But I was hoping you weren't saying that we were gonna have, like a select board would have more control over deciding that, that assistant is just not working out over there. And I don't think that's our call, and that should be.
No, I mean, like I said, we're gonna come and go as a select board,
Right.
and this is a long-term, future decision. And yeah, they would have a boss, essentially. Currently, right now, no elected official has a boss outside of the residents that could, go through a petition process and get them out if they wanted to get them out. But it's essentially the same thing as, everybody else in the world. Everybody has a supervisor of some sort that they have to answer to in the private sector. And Dave has a boss that he has to answer to. And Michelle on the select board, he's not an elected official, but he's a town employee. Seth, same way. It's bringing everybody under that same umbrella of what's currently there, because I don't think I've ever told Dave how to pave a road, or
No.
how to fill a pothole, or who to put out for plowing in the evening. And I don't think that's what happened within this either.
No, and,
So-
I lost my train of thought. I think that you're not guaranteed ethics just because you hire someone, to me. I feel that people that run for an elected office have a dedication to their community.
And I agree with you that you are not guaranteed ethics, but it gives the select board the ability to, if they do make a bad hire, to get rid of that bad hire and find somebody different. With an election, you can't do that. And I understand
Well, I think-
understand your point
I
that
think
you think
legally
that,
you
you know, those folks that do get elected, or that do run for office have some sort of, you know, feeling towards their town, but it's proven over and over again that that's not the case anymore.
And that can be said everywhere. I mean,
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what I'm
pri-
saying.
Private
It's-
sector too, so being,
But in the private sector, you have the ability, you have a supervisor that can say,
well, you know, not without its legal issues on that also. So I
Sure.
don't think that either process would be necessarily easier than the other in terms of getting. I'm not sold either way, really.
But even this year alone, it's been, I don't wanna say thrown at us that I'm an elected official, I don't have to do that. But we've heard that more than once this year. So, I mean, that's not with,
No, I know
But-
another, right.
but I mean, that is part of the issue, that they have that and they're hiding behind it. And
So one of the issues that, I think it's a minor issue, is the human resources aspect of, again, as employment law becomes more confusing, you can't supervise and operate an employment situation like you used to. I mean, there are certain things that you have to follow, whether reprimanding somebody or unfortunately letting them go.
Right.
And again, I don't want us or any select board to have to micromanage somebody's assistant. Again, as long as the elected official or department head does communicate with whether the board, town administrator, both, as to, you know, step by step, dealing with the human resources issue.
anybody else have anything before we get to taking people from the audience? Since we don't have a microphone set up, if you can either come sit at the chair or stand behind the chair so we can catch you on this mic. Tim, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Tim Arsenault, Town Clerk. Let it be known that 3 years ago, I walked away from a Hall of Fame broadcasting career because I wanted to serve this town. And I put my heart and soul into it. And I respect all the board members and certainly each and every one of the voters in this community. This has been a problem in other communities. I don't see it happening here right now. In fact, I took a look back through past town reports. There have been a total of 7 other town clerks in my lifetime, all who served with distinction. And they take the job seriously. The voters take the job seriously in making those choices. And certainly, in my own case, yeah, I'll retire someday, but I'm more than happy to work on a part-time basis to help train a successor. That it would not be right walking away and letting an office that has laws that change all the time and a lot of demands, and certainly a considerable amount of interaction with the public, that would not reflect well on anybody to let that go south. So I really do have faith in the process, in the voters, the same voters who chose all of you. I would put my faith in their hands. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tim. Anybody else? Come on up.
You said there are other towns in Vermont that have gone to an appointed position. What are those towns? You didn't give any examples.
I can give you a whole list, but I can't give it to you off the top of my head.
So you say you have examples of towns that have done it, but you don't have them in front of yourself.
Who was the lady that we were talking to at VLCT? the town fair.
Which one we talking?
The one that we were specifically talking to about this issue.
You were with Michelle talking to her.
Well, I was with you too.
Was it Sandy Pincinel?
Yeah.
Okay,
What
she's
town
from
is she from?
Dorset.
So Dorset, Putney,
Coventry?
Yeah.
Country switch.
They Coventry.
There's two more that I just read about.
yeah, there's several. If you want a list, I'm happy to give it to you.
You can also look on the, you can look at the Secretary of State's website, and it'll tell you if the town clerk's elected or appointed.
I think I have it upstairs.
Yeah, you just get on the web.
Yeah, come on.
Susan Arsenal. I'm not a Vernon native. I've only been here 40 years. I participated in, as an election official almost all of those years. I guess one thing, when Tim took this position as town clerk, I believe his assistant had 39 hours. And the plan that he had, and we had talked about, was when Ina retired, was hiring somebody younger to be an assistant town clerk, to work their way up. But as that position has had its hours cut by this board a couple of times, nobody young can work and make a living at a part-time job. So I think there are people qualified in this town to run the town clerk's office, but unfortunately, it's not gonna be allowing Tim to bring somebody in to do on-the-job training for the next 3 years, because the people that are qualified, that's not enough hours for them. And I think it's unfortunate that that's happened. I've kept my mouth shut because he'd probably rather I did that. But for those of you new to town, I used to speak up at town meeting all the time. And because of my husband's position in town, I choose not to. But I think I'm gonna start speaking a lot more again, because I think things need to be said. The town fathers, when I came to town, had made so many plans for the eventual shutdown of Vermont Yankee, and their plans were not followed through, and I feel bad about that. So I think, you know, if this is the way you go, just remember that there are people in town that are not gonna enjoy having that done. I think people that have lived in town for a long time have enjoyed getting to know a town clerk, and I think Tim has done a really good job. Thank you.
I'm here, of course you know I'm gonna talk.
Kind of figured when you were looking at for the microphone.
I'm Ronna, and I'm chair of the trustees of the library. And I have two things I want to say. One is, like you guys, this is not what I wanted to say, but like you all, I'm elected. I'm responsible to the town. That's my feeling, and I think that's the way the rest of us on the board feel. The first thing I really have been concerned about is if you take away my and the other voters' right, it's not a privilege, it's a right to vote for people who work for us, I believe you're undermining democracy, our democratic right to vote. And the other thing, I don't follow your logic. Somebody you hire also has to be trained, somebody you elect has to be trained. Your logic, I didn't follow it when I heard it, and maybe I didn't hear very well, but those are the two things that I just want to say. Thank you for the opportunity to have my democratic voice heard.
Anybody else? Come on up, Cindy.
When you were speaking, one of the things that you said was that we're elected officials are not answerable to anyone, which is not true. We're answerable to the most important people, the people that elected us. And if you pass this article, you're taking those people's voice away from them. You're not giving them the opportunity to choose. You're not, I mean, that's our right. It's our right to do. But we are answerable to these people. We have to look them in the eye. And they trusted us, they put us in these positions, and we're not gonna let them down. I think Tim and I try our hardest to run our offices with the most integrity we can. And I think that you're taking these people's rights away from them.
Well, I will tell you that the people would take their own rights away from them, because just because we put an article out doesn't mean it gets passed at town meeting. So if it passes at town meetings, they're taking their own rights away. This has nothing to do with the select board outside of putting an article up for discussion at town meeting. The townspeople decide from there. We don't drop the gavel tonight and it happens. So it's up to the townspeople to decide at town meeting if we put this article out.
Well, I hope the townspeople realize that they'll be losing their voice. Instead of a lot of people having a choice, it'll be 5 people having a choice.
Sure.
And I think it's important that they know that, they would be giving up that right.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody would be aware of that. Anybody else? Okay.
I would say that the emotion that we see from the 3 of you right here, that it's clear that you guys enjoy your job, you're appreciative of the town electing you into that position. This was in no way us discrediting you or what you guys do for the town, and it is appreciated what you do, so I please don't take that any other way other than that. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I told you that when I talked to you the other night, Tim, when the agenda came out, that it has no reflection on the people that currently sit in these positions. It is a succession plan to make sure that the town is best represented going forward. So we need to decide whether this becomes an article to discuss at town meeting. We can either table that decision or we can make that decision tonight. I make a motion that we put this article as written out for the townspeople to decide at town meeting. Nobody seconds it, it's dead.
I move that we table this discussion, this article for further discussion, in order to think a little more about it at this point.
Is that proper order? The article died.
He made a new motion.
Yeah, a new motion.
It's amendment to my motion, because it didn't get seconded. What-
Do we have that figured out?
Yep.
I believe it's a brand new motion. Since that one wasn't seconded, it doesn't exist
So I will
anymore, so
second.
that's a new motion.
I will second that.
Okay, moved and seconded to table this discussion to a further date. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
So we will talk about it again.
Well, nay.
Yeah, they meant to say nay, they said
He said
aye.
opposed, and I said, I agreed with him, I oppose.
All right, nay.
Nay.
Okay, public participation agenda items only. Seeing none. Correspondence and town admin report.
Okay, you have all the correspondence in your packets. I will point out that there was a request from the capital plan committee to point out any of the issues that you all may see that you think need to be done. Remember, anything that goes on the capital plan needs to be over $10,000. In addition, I have had Mike Class he went to the South School, he's also headed to the North School to see what needs to be done in case we have any major repairs pending that his professional eye would see more so than I would, in addition to him wandering around the town hall for the last few weeks doing other jobs. Nothing that huge is eminent in the town hall, but
I just got a quote today from the South School and haven't had a chance to look at it yet, so, that, whether that goes in the capital plan, I'm thinking that might just be in the, South School budget though. So that's pending. I do want to thank the thank Dave Walker, Seth and Ian Dio, and some of the library volunteers and Jean for clearing out the lobby so that we could get our floors redone last week. That was a big job. And Dave and Seth and Ian and the library are all working at putting everything back now. They look really great, and we'll do our best to keep them looking nice. And there is, as of this morning, a need to create a hazard mitigation plan. And in my search for funding for things like our emergency management center and generators, any federal funds that we want toward that realm, we need to have one of those.
Is it like
And find out we do not.
hazards of losing power?
I don't think they qualify.
If we had our generator.
That's
We
right.
had the
We wouldn't have
generator
lost
here.
It would have been,
Just saying.
we wouldn't have
Only if
missed
the-
a beat.
The emergency operations center locates here, we'll get a generator. In addition, if we don't have a hazard mitigation plan, if FEMA comes in, if there's a hurricane and we need funding, we can't get any unless this plan is complete. So Dave Emery, our emergency management director, has asked.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Sorry. Is it Dave's birthday?
It is.
Oh, I saw this.
It is Dave's birthday today.
I didn't even know that. He has requested that we could meet on either the 27th or the 28th with Alyssa from Wyndham Regional Commission, about a 2-hour meeting to go over the planning for that hazard mitigation plan. That would probably be the only public meeting that he would ask you all to attend. And I did send out an email to sort of his required people, but any select board members welcome to come. Is there a date that you would prefer?
What days did you say?
I was just gonna say, what
20
month?
27th and
November.
28th of November.
Oh, okay, so I'm
Oh,
going,
sorry.
that's like Saturday and
That's a
Sunday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, end of November.
Yeah. The other date was a meeting day, so I already said no to that one. But it would be about 6:30 for about 2 hours. Do you have a preference?
So far, too far ahead for me to make a decision, so I just said
You were
whatever.
on the list of required though, for 2 reasons. Aren't you the emergency?
Yes.
And,
I do have to be there, and I said either date because it's way too far out for me to say,
So want me to just pick one?
yep.
Okay. Okay. And what else? Tim wanted me to forward along the information that that a lot of early ballots are coming in.
Good.
About we're getting about 10 a day, and voting is November 6th. So that's all of my.
Okay. Select board budget meeting tomorrow. Next regular select board meeting is November 6th. Public hearing on proposed town plan, November 7th at 6 o'clock. So that is directly before our budget meeting that is on 6:30 on the same day. We are adjourned.